Welcome back to the Lanterne Rouge Cycling Podcast, the recap of stage 16 of La Vuelta. Again, after the rest day like we had in Bilbao last week, today we have one of the most interesting stages in the entirety of the Vuelta because it's not a Unipuerto, it's not a soft mountaintop finish, it's a raid stage, it's a medium mountain stage with very steep fake news climbs. This is originally, I think we were really going hard on the fake news climb like narrative back in 2021 around these sort of stages from Pollo to Castro de Ervil. As I've said many times, it's the stage where Lopez got in the car because Bahrain went on a long-term raid or long-distance raid. It is wide roads on the valleys and descents. Well, there's no valleys on the descents and then satellite riders can be very, very useful. It's steep climbs. The final begins about 40 k's to go with the 3.7k 7%, shallow descent, 3.2k 9% with an absolute wall in the middle of it. Guys were standing still. Descent, 1 mile punch of 6% descent, and then in theory, an 8k 5.5% finish with 3k's at 8%, but it remains to be seen what would happen there. I am just give me a bit of slack today, bit tired. I did eat. Like I eat Morton. I had Morton on the flight this morning. I had a Morton bar for breakfast on the flight. I don't know if that's like allowed, but
yes,
it's allowed.
I've done that definitely a few times where in the morning I want to jump on the bike and do a bit of a ride or even a Zwift race at like 9 or 8 in the morning. And I'm like, okay, let's try and find some breakfast, or should I just eat a bar before I ride because I don't want it to be on my stomach for that ride, so I shove in a bar. That's my strat.
I was just sitting on a plane and then in a car, so I was just hungry.
That's also a strat. It fills you up, I guess.
For the first time, by the way, made it to a semi-finals of the baseball fantasy playoffs, won my first round matchup in the NFL. Everyone knows how good my team is. Justin Fields, bang, bang, bang. Don't clip that hand motion in the context of today's episode.
Jesus.
I've lost it. Oh, I was going to say, for the first time, someone said, "Are you sure you want to have that curry?" And I said, "You know what? I'm actually not sure. Can I have a less spicy version?" I think that's called growth.
What is that? Where are we? Are we on the plane still? Are we at lunchtime? Are we yesterday evening?
This is dinner on Sunday night.
I'm happy for you. Anyway, there was a Vuelta stage on today, and that Vuelta stage, like you said, is not necessarily a mountaintop finish, but it's a medium mountaintop finish, a hilltop finish on paper. We'll see if that happens or not, but Vingegaard had an interview this morning, or yesterday on the rest day, don't know when. I just opened my social media today and I saw the interview, and he said that he was a little bit ill last week, so that could be the explanation of the inaction on Angliru, not being able to attack Almeida, or that might just be his level. We don't know that at the moment, but that's a small bit of information from previous stages that is good to know towards the next couple of days. But today, my expectations were, same with the Bilbao stage, to be honest. Those two stages I saw as stages where Almeida has to get through, while it's not really his terrain to attack Vingegaard. This is the kind of terrain where he could lose time, is how I perceive the parkour, compared to a Bola del Mundo and Angliru, where, based on, especially last week, Bola del Mundo, he should be pretty good at, I would say. So today was the get-through day for Joao Almeida for me, and that's why I kind of expected UAE to do two things. First of all, I look at the parkour, I see a breakaway stage, so I think, okay, UAE will go in the break to try and go for the stage. Secondly, try and be around Almeida as long as possible in this stage, and I didn't necessarily expect Vingegaard and Visma Leasebike to control for the stage when here. So we saw breakaway lining up, 17 riders in the breakaway, Patrick, including Soler, Bajoli, Cepeda, Dens, Landa with Van Zevenand, Bernal with Jungels, Quinn Pickering, Brazan... missing that name, that's a big one to not say correctly. Brazafonso, Mollard, Roland, Gernalek, Roulin, Louis Roulin, so that's very different from Bayeux, Roland. It's getting difficult here with the French names. Kevin Vermarke, and we've also got Jake Stewart. You look at this breakaway. Firstly, Jake Stewart, what's the point of him being in the breakaway? And secondly, who do you see as the strongest riders in this breakaway?
Braz Afonso is obviously the heavy favorite in here, and everyone's riding against him. People even sabotaging his bike, perhaps. We see later in the race. But
mate, when Braz Afonso had a mechanical in this race, Patrick said, I heard him say this.
Neutralize.
Bueno, yo me quedo por aquí. Fue un placer, señores. And he dipped out.
I said neutralize it. No stage winner. No stage winner. But FDJ, I mean, they should just do the Vuelta. If they can just do the Vuelta every year or every race, they'd be way better. Like, Broe Roland, I thought, all jokes aside, I thought Roland was a very big chance to win the stage with two strong teammates. They did come close. Bernal in there. We didn't see it televised, but it took a long time for the break to go again. Visma weren't in the end. Soler was in. Why did you think Soler was in the break?
Well, to be honest, based on the last 2 weeks, I would say go for the stage victory. But he could also be in the breakaway. The alternative is as a potential satellite rider to pull back or use if something happens later in the race. And we may or may not see that happen later. So it could go either way. But my bias was towards he's in this breakaway to try and win it, especially when Visma Lease bike started controlling the gap very loosely to the point that gap went up to 4 minutes, 5 minutes, eventually 7+ minutes. So break was going to win and the gap was so significant that, I don't know, I didn't know whether there'd be severe action in the peloton before the last climb. I wasn't necessarily expecting it, although there's a few Rampa and Humanas in today's stage. It's fair to say, right? We can use the term today, right?
There was guys pretty much standing still on the steep part. And even when you see the GC guys going that slowly when they're not even trying to draft, yeah, it was like 18, 20%. So it was really, really steep. It was a finish in a race final that I was really excited to watch because usually we're now in week 3. I mean, I probably would have preferred Bola del Mundo today, then Moradero tomorrow, then the TT, and then this is stage 20. Because if this is stage 20, Pidcock goes apeshit. Like, if this is stage 20, guys really, Pellizzari or whoever's behind Riccitello will attack him on the descent. Bahrain already were doing that today. I mean, they had great success on this stage before. Nonetheless, very excited to watch the stage because it's a bit different to the other ones. Coverage starts.
I want to add one more thing to you. Because this is stage 16 and not 20, this is 100% a break stage for me. While if this was stage 20, there could be a break up ahead. But I do expect action in the peloton that could lead to it all colliding like we saw in 2021, the Miguel Angel Lopez stage, but also the Champoussin stage that still won despite being caught by the GC group in the final. That is why today's stage was so significantly a breakaway stage for me, because the fact that it is earlier on in the race. In the same way that, like, the position in which a stage is in a Grand Tour is super important because it indicates who is willing to delve into trying to go early, who has the desperation to maybe go at 50 kilometers to go instead of waiting for the final climb, stuff like that. Because now, we've had this discussion a few times, I think. The time trial is yet to come. So people that will lose time in the time trial quite often think, okay, I'm still in a good position, but don't realize or try not to think about the fact that they'll lose 2 minutes in the time trial. If that time trial had already come and they're already 2 minutes down in GC, they would be more eager to actually take a risk, you know? Rather, the peloton is not necessarily the most proactive.
Yeah, like
They're
Riccitello.
often reactive.
So where's he on GC right now? He is
7th, pure guess?
The thing is, he's kind of probably happy with 7th, but yeah, the thing is, he's probably happy with 7th, but he might lose a lot of time. So yeah, he's going to lose time in the TT. So maybe you want to proactively take time now, but then they wait for the TT. I guess they got more. It's also when you got a super hard stage tomorrow, 5K's 11% on Moradero.
Yeah.
Do you want to invest everything in this stage? But anyway, it's still a very, very good stage. We see Visma were controlling the gap at like 4 minutes 20, 4 minutes 40. It was hovering around then. Maybe they were just going to let it out gradually, and eventually Bahrain, you know Bahrain will come because Bernal's on 15 minutes. Trine is on 6:33. So Bahrain are not going to let Bernal go to 8-9 minutes. They'll start controlling. It's obvious. But Visma controls Kelderman and Van Baarle. And then before we get to the actual action, the breakaway, which is quite exciting, the Vuelta is the perfect reminder that no 2 days on the bike are the same. Things can come at you. Things can surprise you. Maybe the finish gets changed that you've been prepping for the night before. And that's why I trust Maurten, because their modular fueling system means you can mix and match gels. If you're not so good at maths or your calorie counting, it also helps when you have a gel 160, which is 40 grams of carbs, and then it's 160 calories. So that's pretty easy to track as well if you're tracking your macros. So do you actually do that? I only realized that last week, by the way. I know I'm going off script to the read, but that's how simple I am.
I didn't do that.
You knew that the gel 160 had 160 calories because it was 40 grams of carbs?
I'm pretty vehemently trying to lose weight, and I've been pretty stagnant in the last couple of months. So I've been trying to. I don't advise this, to be clear. I'm not advising people to calorie count, but I know that it works for me. So that's why every now and then I do it. So that's why I know how many calories are in one of them.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Marlon Royce are after you now. It's one of those things where I was like, oh my God, this is so obvious, and it makes it so straightforward. And then when you have the 320 drink mixes, so the system's modular. You can have a 160 gel, and then you have a 320 drink mix. You can maybe have the gel that can go down easily. The drink mix you can have on a ride in the bidon and sip that over an hour or a longer period of time, and it gives you that texture break. You can have the gel, the drink mix, and then also the solid bars if you want to mix up the textures. And the best thing, it's clean, simple fuel, no artificial junk, and it goes into your stomach without, well, for me at least, and because of the hydrogel technology, without the gastrointestinal issues, particularly in the heat. That's why a lot of the pros here, even on teams that maybe the pros prefer to buy the Maurten themselves, that does happen. That's why a lot of the pros are using Maurten in the Vuelta. And it's the same system you can use tomorrow. Get 20% off your order of hydrogel products, that's the drink mixes or gels, at Maurten.com with the code VUELTA2025. 20% off. All right, breakaway shenanigans, Benji. The fugas begin.
We are simple men. We know that small men go uphill fast. We know that Brazafonso's in that breakaway. You're a big fan of the man. He's part of your community. Michelanda attacks from the Alto da Groba, which is with about 65 kilometers to go. He's trying to thin down the herd in the breakaway, and it thins down the break to, or at least there's a group created at the front of the race, including Michelanda, who attacked, Brazafonso, Egan Bernal. So we've got two of the old veterans in the race, Landa and Bernal, even though Bernal's not that old, so I shouldn't be calling him an old veteran of the sport at this point. Then we've got Brio Crolans, who two riders from Groupama, and also Nico Dens, who rode a really strong race again today. That man's climbing in this race has been on the level of his climbing of the Tour de France 2023. I think the Vulcania stage to his wide, he was really good there. But they get a gap of roughly 40-ish seconds, and their gap looks pretty solid, but there's quite a few riders that missed it, including Soler in the second group, so he might not be overly happy with that front group being up the road, Pickering as well, stuff like that. They are behind, so that breakaway, the battle is not done yet. We don't know for sure whether those front five riders will stay away at this point, but is it me, or does the action kind of relax from that point onwards until 26 kilometers to go on the Alto de Prado?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, I couldn't figure out what I think Soler was playing for the stage. I couldn't figure out if it was because this is a good stage to have a satellite rider. But then, because he was playing it coy, like Wellens in the Tour, and then I was thinking, okay, is he actually playing it so coy he just wants to conserve? But then he was closing gaps. I don't know. And then I was like, are UAE going to come to the front and start smashing it because they got Soler up the front? They can launch it with Ayuso. In the end, Benji's right. Sort of nothing happens up until the Prado, where We have that, Soler chasing the Bernal Dens double FDJ breakaway with Lander as well. And pretty much a breakaway apart from Nico Dens, who's obviously enemy of the podcast. Apart from him, it's a breakaway where I think we'd be happy with any of the others to win. Bernal, obviously. Lander would be great. And then the two FDJ young guys would be cool to see them win too.
Yes. I agree with you there, but on that climb, the Alto de Prado, this is the one, by the way. This is that climb that you pointed at earlier, the Rampa in Humana, where people were basically standing still in certain groups, and that's where action does happen. We see Dens getting in trouble in the breakaway. He's suffering. Brieuc Roland suffers by the end of the climb. He's also gone. So it's down to Landa, Bernal, and Brazafonso for now. And behind we see Soler doing a bit of a Solerism, and he's got Pickering, Vermarke, and that's it, I think, with him. Eventually catching Dens, who dropped from the first group. And eventually Jungels comes back as well from that. Leftovers from the chasing group, but that's the situation up the road. So group one is Landa, Bernal, Brazafonso at the top of this climb after suffering a lot. And the second group is Soler, Pickering, Vermarke, Dens, and Jungels. And Dens then goes on a small attack again after the top of the climb, but we finally have action in the peloton, Patrick. Bahrain Victoria shredding it, but who are the victims?
Le Cerf. So I don't know if that was their plan, or whether they were just trying to control Bernal, because the gap was creeping to 8 minutes and Visma were riding passively, so Visma were maybe going to give another minute and another minute.
Yeah.
But they start whacking it. I'm like, interesting. And they're going all in for Train. Pardon?
I'm surprised they have as much confidence in Tron to do that, you know?
He's been surviving pretty well, and it's not that they have confidence in him against Pellizzari or even Koos. They have confidence in him against Tejada and Le Cerf. Like, they're like, okay, we can defend your top 10 or improve your top 10 against Le Cerf. So they whack it. They got Haig first, then Buitrago starts to do it. So I didn't think Tran's punch was the best. Le Cerf drops, and that's a problem. You got no teammates, you're small. Felix Gold drops as well. So Felix Gold drops on this ramper, and he loses in the end 56 seconds.
Yeah.
And how much did Le Cerf lose? Le Cerf loses 2 minutes 15. So, and this is with a shortened stage. So I don't know who. Maybe let's see who was around. Who was around Felix Gold? Because Armorel was in the region, but anyway, it worked for Bahrain. They moved up. They moved up Tran, or they moved him up GC position. They took time on Felix Gold. You're also staying safe. We see Vingegaard and Visma. They got Koos, Jorgensen, Tullett, Vingegaard. Campenarts didn't start the stage, so they're down another man. Vingegaard gets over the crest, changes bike with Tullett. So Tullett's out, and then Jorgensen starts setting a defensive pace on the descent. So 2 things happen at the same time. The race communication over the radio says that because of protests at 3.5Ks to go, the stage will be shortened and stop at the bottom of the final 8K climb. And there will also be a stage winner there, and GC times will be taken there. I don't know if there's bonus seconds there. Doesn't matter. Don't know.
Going to the break anyway. But
yeah,
still,
they went to the break anyway, which is, I think, why they did it.
I don't know if it was. Nonetheless, that means that the final climb is taking out, like you said. That means the stage ends with 8 kilometers to go. So that takes away any opportunity for riders in the breakaway to attack each other, but also riders in the peloton or GC group, whatever's left of it, to attack each other on a final climb. So from that point, we know that GC action is basically off the table, except for a mechanical by, well, there's 2 important mechanicals here, Patrick. Who would you say is the most important rider that has the mechanical here?
Well, yeah, it's Brazafonso, but yeah. Because he can't change bike with anybody, whereas, as I said, Vingegaard just changes to Tullett's bike, and then as the same time that's being communicated, Pidcock starts sending the descents, which I think was a good idea. There's gaps opening up. Felix Gold's also not coming back too quickly on the wet descent. But Almeida just closes it. He's got Groschartner there. Soler waits ahead. But in front, in the breakaway, Bernal and Landa have dropped the two FDJ boys, or someone's put a stick into Brazafonso's spokes. They're gone. It's the two veterans, we call them, Bernal and Landa. And then they've changed the route. Not good for Landa. He can't win. Unless Bernal misses where the new finish is, but Landa was clearly going to have to try on the last climb.
But also, regardless of whether they can sprint, regardless of that, Bernal's also pretty damn good at shortened races. You remember the Tour de France 2019, the last couple of stages, mudslide down the mountain, Col d'Iseran. He got in front before it, won the Tour de France because of it. So he's been pretty good at shortened stages, which is what happened here as well, because they entered the last 9 kilometers, knowing that the stage finishes with 8 kilometers to go. I will say, though, with 1.2 kilometers towards the new finish, they looked so calm, I wasn't sure that they knew the finish was coming.
I think they did. They're like, is it going to be like the Pidcock Bilbao stage with no stage winner? In the end, they realized we should have a stage winner.
Yeah.
Because I think, especially because they've been in the break all day, they have to give something to the break. I still don't know. How they took GC times on Bilbao and didn't have a stage winner.
Yeah.
That's also
we'll get to that discussion.
Yeah.
First, let's do the stage.
Bernal beats Landa in 2 sprints. He beats him in the initial sprint. And then if you look at Ineos' photo celebrating the win on Twitter, he's also beating Landa in the second sprint because he makes sure, because the riders are looking at the banner. There's a banner. They've been told 8Ks to go. 8Ks to go. They're going to take the times and the stage winner will be declared. The finish line was before then at 8.1, 8.15, a white line on the ground that you couldn't see coming. And so Bernal just sprinted through the barrier to make sure. Bernal wins the stage ahead of Landa.
Yeah. I'll be honest. Bernal winning a stage against Landa in Vuelta 2025. If you told me that would happen yesterday without context, I would have said, we got a banger stage on the line. But the context of the stage being shortened, I don't know about you. What do you think about shortened stages, neutralized races in general? Because like even the Picnic Postinel victory in the evening time, Charlotte, in Barcelona a couple years ago in the Vuelta, that also has a bit of an asterisk for me. Like, I don't value personally those victories as high as a normal stage win. And maybe that's harsh to the riders that end up winning that, but I just can't do that personally because I feel like it's less prestigious.
It is less prestigious. Like, it is, because they've changed the race. Everyone, up to the point where it's announced, every single rider in the race is riding on the basis of the full profile. They're taking decisions. Do I chase this? Do I invest energy here? Should I use my teammate now? All on the basis of this climb coming up. Mikel Landa thought, I have a 3K, 9%, 8% climb coming up close to the finish. That's where I'll try to win this race. And then you get told at the top, or maybe halfway through, at the top, I think maybe it was, at the top of the hardest climb with a descent and then a 3-minute kicker afterwards.
Yep.
The stage finishes on the flat or on a downhill, and he's like, he can't do anything. He's planned to win the race, which beforehand was the most logical thing to do. Relay with Bernal, then try to drop him with 6Ks to go. So I'm happy for Bernal. I'm glad he won. Ineos also deserved the Algarve loss to be righted. Like
Pidcock, in my opinion, deserved the stage win last week. Or, well, we don't know. Pidcock and Vingegaard deserved the right to fight for the stage that day.
Definitely. And that was communicated enough in advance, I think.
And let's have the discussion now, because you mentioned it earlier. So today we've got a finish that is with 8 kilometers to go, last minute change, whatever. In doing so, we got a stage winner and GC time there. In the Bilbao stage, we have GC times being taken at that line with 3 kilometers to go, but no stage winner. My first thought was, okay, I can explain that inconsistency by okay. Today, they knew it far enough beforehand. They were better prepared. They had a secondary finish line ready to put there, whatever. They had the timing chips or whatever you call it for that specific backup finish line all in check, and that's why we've got a stage winner and GC times today. But like you said, they were able to calculate the GC times in Bilbao with 3 kilometers to go. So if you can do that, then I assume you can also do the stage winner.
I mean, how much Felix Gall wouldn't be in 6th right now if they did the full stage?
Yep.
Jorgensen would be 10th. It's changing GC. It's changing GC positions.
Yeah, but we can't change the fact about the stage necessarily being shortened, but we can change the fact about how the Vuelta handles stages that are shortened in awarding a stage victory or not.
Oh, yeah. They should award a stage victory. And especially when it's been a breakaway all day, like, you can't let those guys go home empty-handed. That's why they even let the breakaway guys fight out the stage win when it's like the dangerous finish on stage 9 in 23 when it was the wet gravel finish, which was actually fine in the end. Like, they could have raced it, but which apparently was the case here. So we saw Daniel Friebe, of course, not our man on the ground, the man on the ground. The man on the ground.
We're claiming him.
Yeah, he was the first to report this on Twitter, at least from what I saw, and then with a photo of a protester on the ground, some police around him, and then as they were finishing, he tweeted that it had calmed down at 3.5 Ks to go considerably, and the video footage looked calmer. But yeah, I mean, how much of the race can you keep changing the profiles before it's becoming a farce?
Before it's not the race anymore.
Well, yeah.
A ship of Theseus is back.
Yeah. Like, yeah, I mean, I really, what if a rider got dropped on the final climb today? We'll never know. And then they're able to, at what point do you draw the line? What if Morradero gets taken out tomorrow?
What if in the Tour de France 2019, the climb after Israel is ridden?
Yeah,
wins the Tour de France 2019?
Bernal probably wouldn't have won.
We don't know. That's the reality of the situation. We don't know what would happen if today's stage is longer. We don't know what would happen if Morradero is taken out tomorrow. So I find it hard to speculate of what would have happened outside of I put less value in the actual result today. Yeah. And the more is changed in this Vuelta as well, I put less value at the end of the Vuelta as well in the overall. You know?
And this is probably why wouldn't this keep happening? I mean, the local governments have basically said they disagree with the race being here, where it's being held, and the technical director last week was like, "Yeah, I can see why they're protesting." So, I mean, there's just going to keep being protests, and like you say, it just continues to dilute this Vuelta. Like, if you take out Morradero, if you take out these climbs, it'll just continue diluting the race. And the riders must be like, what's going on? I mean, we should also say Javier Romo, he had to abandon today. He gave a somewhat lengthy interview this morning about his wounds, physical and psychological, after being crashed by the protester on the weekend. But yeah, shame to see him abandon the race. He was obviously in very good shape. Anyway, Bernal wins the stage, Ed of Landa, Broe Roland on 7 seconds?
Yeah.
7 seconds?
So his teammate punctured out of the breakaway, and Broe Roland still finished on 7 seconds, in the same way that he also finished on a few seconds the other day, right?
Only 13.
Only 13 on stage 12. This guy gets dropped and has a real engine to stay within a margin of multiple people relaying for the second time in this Vuelta. Super impressive by the guy, to be honest.
Yeah, wow. So he really, he was coming, well, I mean, maybe they're finessing, but they were still kind of relaying it. But yeah, very, very strong Broe Roland. The others did sprint for the remaining placements: Dens, Brazafonso, Jungels, Vermarker, Pickering, Quinn, Mollard. As I said, in the GC group, all of the main guys except Gol, who loses 56 seconds, and Lessev loses 2 minutes 20. So revised GC, Vingegaard, same gap, 48 seconds ahead of Almeida, 2:38 ahead of Pidcock, 3:10 ahead of Hindley, Pellizzari 4:21, I'm thinking, are Broe going to play the 1-2 on Pidcock or just play Hindley against
Where?
Pidcock? Well, today was the sort of stage where you attack him in the last 5Ks.
Where you try with multiple riders to roll attacks, but Moredero is the kind of climb where, well, let's take a look at the parkour for tomorrow. 143 kilometers from O Barco de Valdeorras to Alto de El Moredero. It's a climb that is odd, I would classify it as, because in total it's about 8.8 kilometers, 9.5%, but I feel like it's got very steep sections. It's got flatter kilometers, no completely flat kilometers, even though there's portions that are definitely better running than others. It starts off with a kilometer at 9%, then 8.5, then 11.7 a full kilometer, then 13.5. So the from 3 to 4 kilometers into the climb is the hardest part of this climb. So and then it kind of graduates out to the finish, but we're talking about 8 to 7% in the last couple of kilometers. So it's still hard in the final part of the climb. I would say though that this stage is basically Unipuerto stage, 140 kilometers. What I think should happen is that UAE should try to make this climb hard, even if Almeida doesn't do anything here, to increase the fatigue a little bit towards the next stage. Because if Jonas was a little bit sick last week, like he said, being sick requires more resources from the body. And in doing so, if you believe that you can help increase the fatigue a little bit by making tomorrow harder, then I would do so.
Yeah. And it depends how Almeida feels, but indeed, he's
also second. So he has to attack.
He has to try, yeah. He has to try. And we got 2 uphill finishes. He won't expect to take 50 seconds in the TT.
Nah. What do you think for the TT?
It's impossible to know, really.
Because my gut feeling says Vingegaard takes 10 to 30 seconds on Almeida in the time trial. That's my gut.
Yeah, probably you'd expect 10 to 15 seconds, but as the Tour TT Stage 5 showed, you really don't know what. It depends on how they are on the day.
That was a bad time trial for Vingegaard at the Tour de France, and he only lost 7 seconds to Almeida that day.
Yeah. True.
Anyway. So on average,
Almeida has to, no way Almeida can bank on the TT.
No. I agree with you there.
But with Almeida, don't you just try to stay close and then hope Vingegaard collapses on Bola del Mundo?
No, for me, the strat, basically, for me, the strat is making tomorrow harder. Try something tomorrow. If it doesn't work, it's not a disaster. It just increases the fatigue. Then the time trial as good as possible, hopefully losing maximum 30 seconds, which is still a lot then, because you want to be as close as possible. And once you go to stage 19, don't expect much to happen there. Stage 20 is where it's at. Then you've got Bola del Mundo. There's a climb, Puerto de Navacerrada, with about 50 kilometers to go. I would actually consider putting Bjerg and Soler in the breakaway, but as satellite riders not going for the stage win on the Bola del Mundo stage. I would have Novak, Oliveira first, then Novak, and then Ayuso already to hard pace Puerto de Navacerrada. And then on the final climb, Bola del Mundo, start with Grosjean and Vine, and have Soler drop back from the breakaway to take that on. Bjerg does the valley beforehand, and that's how you can make that stage as hard as possible as UAE. And then it's on Joao Almeida to attack with 7 or 3.4 kilometers to go, and then the legs will decide on the road who wins this Vuelta.
Yeah. So what do you think happens tomorrow then?
I expect Almeida to not drop Vingegaard. I don't expect Vingegaard to take time on Almeida either. And should Oliveira control?
I think UAE will control.
To put the bonus seconds in play. Or will they go in the break knowing that they could win from the breakaway again?
No, I think UAE will control for Almeida. Try to launch him. I think Vingegaard wins a sprint.
That's a very possible outcome. If it's Peloton, it's either Almeida or Vingegaard. Hindley's sprint, he won that little sprint.
Hindley will ride for, if the two neutralize each other and stop, then Hindley will come back, and I expect that he will be ahead of Pidcock, and he will just ride for third. And then the two will sprint it out.
Was it Hindley that won on Blockhouse in a 3-up sprint with Bardet and so forth?
Yeah. Yeah, but that
But that's against shit sprint.
Now he's going to ride for GC.
Yeah.
I think. That's what he did on Farapona.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going for Almeida because I want him to get closer in GC so we have a battle.
Yeah. Even 5 seconds, just the act of dropping somebody is symbolic and significant.
Could just as well be Vine from the breakaway again.
Nah, I don't think so.
You don't think they will?
Because
Today, Soler waiting shows that they are. Then again,
No.
Soler was in a lost position.
No, dude.
Today shows nothing.
So it shows the opposite. Soler was literally riding. He spent all his energy chasing.
Yeah.
He chased from. It was madness. He got dropped straight away, whilst Jake Stewart didn't get dropped.
Yeah, I agree.
Anyway, we'll see. But tomorrow, I think for Vine, there's one Cat 3 during the stage, so I think he'll chill and he'll be in the peloton.
Ayuso then?
Nah, I don't think so. I don't think so.
I think UAE should control in the peloton tomorrow.
Yeah, I think they will. All right, we'll see if we have a stage finish tomorrow on the Mortadero. Can be a very pivotal climb. Maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't. Hope you enjoyed the recap, and we'll see you tomorrow. Ciao, ciao.